Hi, welcome to Pennsylvania Newsmakers, and as always, thanks for watching. Well, it's healthcare 24/7, and guess what? It's healthcare on Pennsylvania Newsmakers, this edition coming up after these words.
This is Pennsylvania Newsmakers, a fast-paced, unrehearsed weekly discussion with and about the leaders who shape your world. And now, here's your host, Terry Madonna.
Hi, welcome back to the program. Well, you can't turn on a TV, listen to a radio, or read a newspaper without getting yourself immersed in maybe one of the biggest debates, not just of our generation, but maybe of the last 40 or 50 years. The great national health care debate. It has implications for the state of Pennsylvania. Joining me, as often is the case, is one of our health care experts. We get this guy on to help flesh out, give us some answers. Jim Redmond, he's a senior VP with the Hospital and Healthsystem Association of Pennsylvania. Jim, welcome as always.
Thank you, Terry.
All right, look, let's spend a few minutes talking about the national health care picture. Okay, we've got, not arguably, in Congress right now, if we can figure out where it is at any given time, but we know that Senator Baucus this week moved center stage in the Finance Committee with his own proposal, and then there's more than 500 amendments that they're working their way through, even as this program will air across the state. Very ambitious program in virtually every aspect of the changes that are getting proposed. President Obama has his agenda. Why don't you lay out what you think some of the problems are that they ought to be addressing, and in sort of general ways, to give our viewers an overview, which I think at this point is long needed.
Well, certainly the overwhelming issue that led to President Obama during the campaign and during this effort in Congress is to address the 45 million uninsured individuals in this state, or the United States. Yeah. And generally, there's agreement that we ought to make sure that everybody has universal coverage, and the attempts by Congress and the President are moving in that direction, although they're finding it a little harder to do than what is
for the cost reason, maybe.
For the cost reason.
Yeah. But I want to hone in on this. But that's in all the polls that I've seen, and in general, Republicans and Democrats buy into that concept, correct? So that's not, or covering as many as possible, better way to put it. Go ahead.
I think the second area is in the whole issue of insurance reform, the concern that insurance companies can drop people who are sick or who have precondition situations that prevent them from getting insured, and to change that so everybody has some sort of ability to get insurance, either through their employer or through government. At
a reasonable cost. That's the
assumption, and certainly cost control is one of the prime drivers on the part of this whole initiative. And experience has shown that when you expand health insurance, you generally drive up demand, and it's going to cost a lot more. And that has the concern.
That's a good point. You know, that's not been made. Say that again. That's an important point.
When you provide more insurance coverage, you tend to drive up demand for healthcare services.
Because more tests and more visits and maybe more medicines.
A lot of people, who might have some sort of an ailment or don't want to go see their physician because of the cost or inconvenience. Will now go.
Yeah. All right. Well, but in general, there seems to be some sentiment for for more regulation of the insurance industry itself. And that's pretty of course, that's popular with a lot of folks. Does that mean that there's not a lot of competition in some states? As you know, in our state, we basically have 3 or 4 large healthcare insurance. Now, they do a pretty good job. I mean, as you know, they cover a lot of people and do a pretty good job. But is this competition and regulation also at the heart of this debate?
Absolutely, and the whole debate over the so-called public plan is designed in terms of trying to interject more competition in the insurance marketplace where there isn't any. Now, recently, the committee that you mentioned, the Senate Finance Committee, dropped that option. Now, we're far from the goal line, Terry, in this regard.
You mean getting a bill adopted by Congress?
Right. Whatever the Senate does eventually will have to be reconciled with what the House has done, and the President has set out a goal of trying to get this done by the end of the year. But
now, before we go end this segment and turn to PA, I want to talk cost. I mean, all these plans, even the Baucus plan, the best of them in terms of the congressional scoring on the cost, 800 and whatever it is, 900 billion, but in 10 years they say it'll actually save money. But as you know, $10 trillion debt over the next 10 years. I mean, cost has to be a huge factor in preventing this reform. Yes, no?
Oh, I think so, and I think generally we're seeing a change in the mood of the public. Certainly you've reported on this in terms of the growing indebtedness of this nation, and perhaps overreaching on the part of the Congress and President on so many domestic issues.
All right, we're going to continue this debate. We're going to turn to the state of Pennsylvania specifically. What proposals to change the healthcare system are at large and looming? Maybe not. We'll find out from Jim Redmond after these words.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is sponsored by Citizens to Protect PA Jobs. When businesses add jobs, people prosper. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by PAConstructionJobs.com. For more information about rewarding careers in the highway construction industry, visit PAConstructionJobs.com. And by the Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association. Business in Pennsylvania is our business.
Hi, welcome back to the program with Jim Redmond. He's the Senior Vice President with Hospital and Health System Association of Pennsylvania. He's one of the experts we get in from time to time to chat with us. We were talking about the national health care debate. All right, Jim, in our state, earlier, Governor Rendell wanted to cover some 800,000 Pennsylvanians without health care coverage. That's been dropped down in a whole bunch of compromises that they attempted to reach. Is there any effort at the moment to do what I'll call universal coverage or extend coverage for Pennsylvanians that don't have coverage now?
Not in Pennsylvania, Terry. I think combined with the fiscal crisis of the state and also recognition that the federal government seems to be moving that direction, it's taken all the air out of really doing anything in the state legislature. All
right, but now, just for folks, we do have programs in this state who do cover people who, for whatever reason, don't have coverage. We have a program for kids called S-CHIP. We have something called Adult Basic I want you to explain. And then we have Medicaid. All three of those are programs that cover folks without insurance. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, what is the coverage of those programs? I mean, what would you say?
Well, by and large, the largest program is Medicaid, covering a little less than 2 million Pennsylvanians.
So 2 million out of 12 million of us are on Medicaid.
Yes, and they tend to be the very old, elderly, and also very young. And that's a federal-state program that's matched with federal dollars and state dollars. The next program they mentioned is the Adult Basic Program, which was funded originally out of the tobacco settlement that then Attorney General Fisher worked out. It's roughly around 50,000 individuals that are covered by that. That tends to be low income working adults that do not qualify for the Medicaid.
Make a little too much to be qualified for Medicaid?
Right.
Sort of in that zone?
Sometimes there are people in between jobs.
50,000, is that all?
That's
I thought there was more. Is there a waiting list for that?
There is a waiting list that administration claims are over 100,000 individuals waiting for that particular program. Yeah. And then the Children's Health Insurance Program, which was initiated under Governor Casey, has roughly around 140,000, I believe, individuals on that program.
So we're talking then, roughly in the neighborhood of about 2 million, let's say 300,000, maybe in that range.
Over 2 million.
2 million folks who are covered by programs that are funded in part by federal government.
And the state government.
Yeah, and state government.
That's right.
Out of 12 million of us. Now, okay, we got that straight. In addition to that, we have a huge proportion of our people, because we have the third largest, I think, number of senior citizens on Medicare.
That's correct.
So when you combine both of those, Pennsylvanians, by and large, have reaped the benefit of a lot of the federal government's programming. federal programming for health care, right?
Oh, no question. The Medicare program being very popular among those that are 65 and older, you know, and the remaining numbers of individuals are covered through their employer. And
we have high coverage. Go ahead, make
Pennsylvania is, you know, roughly 92% of our population is covered, ranking us certainly within the top 5 or 6 in the nation in terms of the percentage of individuals covered.
All right, okay, that's a great summary. I think that puts into perspective where we stand. Now, these programs have to be paid for. And so there's a big debate in this state about how much money will go into these programs. And one of the programs that the state has to put money up, talking about $2 million is Medicaid.
Right.
Where does that situation stand as we speak? I know that you got the budget, and we won't hold you to this specifically, but go ahead.
Well, we know what various chambers have done in terms of various budget proposals. What we don't know is the final result. As you well know, the budget deal announced by the governor and 3 caucuses in the legislature, the details of that are still sketchy, unknown to members of the legislature and certainly to the public at large. They're still working out some of the details, and we seem to be coming close to the end, but it's becoming, as you know, one of the most difficult budgets that Pennsylvania has ever faced.
Yeah, now, that amount of money, some of which comes from the federal government, and then the state matches some, goes to doctors and hospitals, your institutions, for example, to help provide the services. Is that correct?
That's correct, although the larger percentage of it now goes to long-term care. Medicaid, over the years, a program that was designed back in the late 60s, designed to provide essentially acute health care services to low-income people, has really become the safety net for long-term care.
All right, look, great update. There you got it. I mean, what we didn't do before and what we now have is sort of this laid out in clear and unmistakable terms. All right, stay with us. We've taped a special interview recognizing International Credit Union Month, and you'll get that interview just after these messages.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by Pennsylvania Credit Union Association. Pennsylvania Credit Unions, where people are worth more than money. To find a credit union that is right for you, check out ibelong.org. And by the Energy Association of Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania's energy information source. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by the State System of Higher Education. 14 state-owned universities. The state system is the largest provider of higher education in Pennsylvania. And by the Hospital and Health System Association of Pennsylvania, working towards a healthy Pennsylvania.
Hi, welcome back to the program. Well, joining me for our popular financial literacy update, and guess what? It is International Credit Union Month. Is that right, James?
Yes, October is Credit Union Month, and it's celebrated by all 550 Pennsylvania not-for-profit cooperative credit unions.
Now, this guy right here is Jim McCormack. He's the president of the PA Credit Union Association, and Ray Brunner. He is the chairman of the Pennsylvania Credit Union Association. Got to get your titles in before we begin. All right, well, now let's talk about this International Credit Union Month a little bit. You celebrate this every year. I guess most of us think of American or national credit unions. We don't think of it as a global movement. What's that about?
Absolutely. The first credit union was founded in Germany back in the 1800s by German farmers. So we have an international movement. And on October 15th, we're going to be celebrating International Credit Union Day in most credit unions in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Now, you brought some numbers along, I mean, about pretty startling numbers. In Pennsylvania, you serve several million, and nationally, tell us about that.
Well, in Pennsylvania, we have close to 3.5 million credit union members.
Okay.
So out of
12 million people and maybe 8 million adults, so.
And everybody, what we've tried to do, if you've seen those ads, I Belong, we've tried to let consumers know that, indeed, virtually everybody can join a credit union and our growth rate, particularly since the first of the year, has been even exceeded national averages in terms of loans and membership growth.
Yeah, nationally there's over 7,000, is that right?
Yes, there are 7,800 credit unions in the United States serving 91 million members. And credit unions are growing every day, doing quite well throughout the United States.
And over the years, as you know, Jim, we've talked a lot about, you've provided help to consumers on financial literacy questions. We've done credit, we've done how to handle credit cards. We've done debt. You have your programs in the schools to help students and others get a better feel for how to manage their credit. But we haven't talked very much about sort of the philosophy of a credit union. What is the, what do you tell people if they come in and they say, okay, what are we about?
The motto of credit unions, Terry, is people helping people. And credit unions, as you well know, are not-for-profit financial institutions that are owned by the members. And so they provide less fees, greater return to the members, lower loan rates. They're here for consumers. They're consumer-driven. And again, I can't emphasize enough that virtually all Pennsylvania consumers are eligible to join a credit union.
Regardless of your nature of your employment.
Right. Many of them are community-based. So if you live in a specific community, you can join a credit union. Now,
originally, or maybe even that's still a concept, credit unions were for folks of, I'll say, modest means. Is that right?
Absolutely. In fact, Pennsylvania has 550 credit unions, the most in the United States. That reflects the manufacturing roots of this state of Pennsylvania. So the men and women of Pennsylvania started their own credit unions, and the working class people. And these are their own financial institutions. They own them. That's why they get great rates on loans and savings accounts.
Well, let's talk about another aspect about this. You also engage in a lot of social mission activities, let me put it that way, beyond the normal business activities that a lot of companies would engage in, correct?
Yes, Terry, and it's been mentioned many times on this and other programs. For example, our Better Choice program, which is our antidote to small predatory loans, and the banking department, the state treasurer, Rob McCord has backed that big time. And we've made a lot of loans to
and we've done a
people.
lot, and you folks have come on and cautioned people about where they go. You go to a bank, you go to a credit union, but stay away from those. Go ahead.
Those payday lenders. Staying away from those payday lenders.
Usurious, as we used to say during the Middle Ages. I think that's a term that comes from the Middle Ages. Is usurious. Is that still going on? A lot of that. In this recession, do you think?
Especially in this recession, but I think we're beginning to turn the tide. We've made a lot of small loans to consumers around in Pennsylvania and saved them over $7 million since its inception.
One of the other programs you have is called REAL, R-E-A-L, Solutions, and talk a little bit about that.
This is a national credit union program to help the underserved. And in Pennsylvania, we have about 100 credit unions signed up with it, Jim. Is that correct?
Yes, about 100, yeah.
And really, there are special programs to help the underserved, like check cashing, tax preparation, and we talked about the Better Choice loan, which will be part of that.
Yeah.
All right, this is International Credit Union Month. You're on Pennsylvania Newsmakers, and we'll continue this discussion following a commercial break.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by Highmark Blue Shield, changing the way health plans work for business with a variety of plan options for employers and more choices for employees. Information is available at highmark.com. Have a greater hand in your company's health. And by the Pennsylvania Healthcare Association, the future of long-term care. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by Penn Future, where we believe that every environmental victory grows the economy. And by the Pennsylvania Cyber Charter School, bringing educational innovation and freedom to the children of Pennsylvania.
Hi, welcome back to the program. It's International Credit Union Month, and we're chatting about credit unions and their services that they provide the citizens of the state, not just the state, the nation, and internationally, as I just found. Actually, I knew that because we've done that before. All right, Ray, look, tight market, business market right now. People need money. Credit's not, who knows, I don't know how easy or hard it's getting. I haven't gone for a loan lately. Talk to me about that. What's the situation?
Well, Pennsylvania credit unions have a lot of money to lend. We do not have any liquidity problems. We didn't make subprime loans.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, we've had 10% loan growth in Pennsylvania and also 10% savings growth in Pennsylvania for the first 6 months. So
yes.
We're very, very pleased. We see more and more consumers coming to the Pennsylvania credit unions. But we have home loans to lend out, consumer loans, even business loans. Right. Many credit unions today are making small business loans to small business owners.
Well, look, let me ask you this question. I think it's an important sort of economic question. You can help our viewers out here. We want to save, but we know we can't get out of this recession without a degree of consumer spending, since what, 3/4 of the GDP of the country is based on consumer spending. You gave me an interesting statistic. We're saving about as much as we're now spending. Is there some truth to that?
If I could, and that's in the credit union world.
Right.
Much of this business that we're getting, particularly with lending, is coming from the for-profit banking financial sector. We're actually gaining market share there in car loans, used car loans, credit cards, the micro-business loans.
So in other words, but in terms of the recession, you think people are beginning to borrow and spend, which is, by the way, the only way. We have to say, we know that. There's a balance. Right. The only way we're going to get out of this recession is by having people, buy cars, buy homes again. I can't be wrong. I don't think I'm wrong about that.
Well, there's some indicators, Terry, that is happening, that people are beginning to spend money again. We hope that's right. So credit unions are on Main Street. We're part of Main Street, so we're seeing that growth.
That growth, and credit unions are all local. Credit unions are locally owned, and they cater to that local community.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, I want to thank you for coming in, as always. And when you come back next month, maybe we'll get into some of these advice that you have to the consumers around the state. Good advice about credit cards and lending practices and all of that. You do a great job of that. All right. We'll see you next week for another edition of Pennsylvania Newsmakers. And as always, you stay well out there.